Welcome to my video presentation on the game of Werewolf. My name is Zachary Lucas and I'm going to be going over what the game of Werewolf is, how I tried to beat this game using AI bots, as well as the struggles I went through in order to make the damn thing. Hi!
Hello there.
So the very first thing I need to do is make the assumption that you don't know what I'm talking about. So I need to explain what the game of Werewolf is. So, the game of Werewolves is a social-based game that is played with 5 to 72 players at the same time. You'll have a deck of cards, and in this deck of cards, you will be given a random role and a goal that you need to accomplish. During this gameplay, there are many different ways of playing, but there is something that is always consistent through no matter what card or what role you get. First of all, we will have the day phase. During the day phase, you will need to communicate with the other people who are still in the game to try and figure out who the evil characters are. The evil characters need to lie. They need to stay hidden and make sure that nobody figures out who they are. We're going to have a couple of different phases here. We're going to have the talking phase, the accusation phase, and the voting phase. During the talking phase, everyone just kind of talks it out and try and figures out what's going on. During the accusation phase, each and every person accuses who they think is suspicious. If over half of the town agree to vote on the same person, that moves them into the voting phase. During the voting phase, the person who's been accused has to defend themselves against everybody who has accused them. And after that, he is then voted to be killed by town or saved by town. If he's voted to kill, he's out of the game and done. If he saves, then he just goes back to his seat, and then we proceed to the night phase. The night phase has a couple of different phases for itself. First of all is the ability phase. Every single role that has a night ability, not all of them do, activate their ability at this time. So during this time, someone that has the role such as the seer gets to look at another person and they get some information based on what role they are. Other roles, such as the werewolf, which is the most important role of the game in order to make it run, don't use their ability at this time. They use it during the werewolf voting phase. All living werewolves at this current time in the game will then meet up with each other, have a quick discussion about who to vote for, and then choose one target in town to kill at night. Then we go to the execution phase. The execution phase, all the abilities that were chosen by all of the town at night, as well as the werewolf target, is activated at this time. If the werewolves attack somebody, but the bodyguard decided to protect them, then nothing happens at night. He lives. But if he wasn't protected, he'll die. Various other effects happen as well. I'm not really going to go into all of the effects at this time, as there are far too many. So, in this game, there are a lot of cards. And I really mean a lot of cards. There's so many roles that you can play as in this game. And it gets pretty daunting, and there's no way I could have programmed every single one of these within the time I had. So, I decided to stick with a couple of the most common roles that you'll see here. So firstly, we have the villager. The villager does nothing. They are fodder. It is everybody's least favorite role to get. Next up, we'll have the seer, arguably the most important role that the village has at their disposal. The seer, every single night, may look at one person at night, and they will be told if the person they look at is a werewolf or not a werewolf. Key distinction, not a werewolf, because there are some evil roles that are not werewolves. Next up, we'll have the bodyguard. The bodyguard is pretty important. He protects one single person at night. The person he protects cannot be killed by werewolves. Simple as that. He may only protect himself once in a normal game, but for the purposes of my demonstration in my simulation, the bodyguard will not be able to protect himself at all. Next up, we've got the apprentice seer. It is the exact same role as the seer, except with one Catch. This apprentice seer only gets to do anything if the normal seer is dead. Otherwise, the apprentice seer is essentially just a villager, nothing else. And finally, on the side of the town, we have the hunter. The hunter is a wild card. They are on the side of town, but they are essentially a villager, unless they die. The moment a hunter is killed, they may choose one target of their choice to kill with them. Usually the werewolves don't want this person dead. Next up, we've got the werewolf. There's usually more than one werewolf in a game. For my demonstration, there is going to be 3 werewolves in the game. The werewolves need to work with each other in order to kill all non-werewolves. The moment that the werewolves are equal to the half of town, so if there's 6 people left in town and 3 of them are werewolves, the werewolves win the game. As for town only wins the game if they kill all evil roles. That means all werewolves need to be dead, and the cult leader needs to be dead. The cult leader has his own special role that he needs to do. At night, he can convert one single person in town to a member of his cult. When he converts a member to his cult, then he gets one step closer to winning the game. If all living members of town are in the cult, he wins. But that's only if he is alive. And last but not least, we have the tanner. The tanner is an interesting role. He only wins the game if he is killed by lynching. If he's killed by any other means, he does not win. Arguably, by most people, this role is the easiest role to win in the game, which makes things very interesting when we get to my simulation. So, now we're going to go over a couple of things in the code. So now I'm going to be quickly going over my strategy. First, I'll quickly mention what the other bots do, just so everyone knows. We have the random bot. Most of its actions are done randomly. We have the aggressive bot. It just always tries to kill people. And then we have the passive bot. It just kind of sits there and does nothing. They're pretty self-explanatory. So we're just going to talk specifically about my strategy. So originally, I tackled this problem using a min-max problem. The only issue was when I was using min-max, I have zero control over what the other bots are doing, so I was not actually able to get a large amount of wins using min-max. It just didn't work since I had so little control over this complex problem. So it turned out that game theory was the only thing I was actually able to use effectively for this kind of situation. So here's our game theory function. We are going to be passing in our own suspicion, what we think our suspicion is, and then we will be passing in our suspicion of the current player we're looking at. We're going to do this for each and every player that is currently still alive. Using this function will determine what is the best possible outcome that we should be taking against this player. So this function gets used quite often. Above this function we have track roll counts just to see if somebody's claiming a roll that's already been claimed. It doesn't usually help, but sometimes it does come in handy. For our basically daily action, we're using that game theory chart back up here. If we are town, if we're tanner or cult leader, the tanner is always just going to return an accusation. The tanner will always accuse somebody. If they are cult leader, the cult leader will always be quiet. He'll just try not to get too much attention to himself. And if we are werewolf of town, we're using that game theory algorithm to get the best possible outcome. We have a threshold here. If the number of positive outcomes is below this threshold, then we will be playing it as safe as we can. If it is above the threshold, we'll be playing aggressively as we can. And if we equal that threshold, we'll be playing kind of quiet and not really doing anything. So whenever we're claiming our role, it depends on what we are. If we are the tanner, we're going to be claiming a really dumb role. We're going to be claiming to be werewolf. Unless there is a dead role currently that is the seer, the bodyguard, or the apprentice seer. If any of those are dead, we will claim to be that in attempts to raise our own suspicion. If we are the cult leader, we will be claiming hunter. we claim hunter so we can stay out of the radar of both the werewolves and the town. If we are anything else, such as werewolf or town, if we're town, we're going to be claiming our actual role because there's no point in lying. But if we are werewolf, we will be claiming either seer, bodyguard, or apprentice seer, depending on what our current suspicion is, as we want to try and make a big play here, because if we are up saying our role, we're going to be killed pretty soon. So next up, how we accuse players. It's different for each individual class. We have the tanner, the cult leader, and then everybody else. The tanner always accuses somebody every day, but then always decides not to accuse. It looks incredibly suspicious to keep changing your mind at the last second. The cult leader will just try and get the best possible target out of the index here, but he won't grab the most suspicious person. He'll try to grab somebody a little bit lower towards the bottom, just so his targets don't die too often. So he'll be accusing the most suspicious person, trying to get them out of the way. And town originally was going to accuse somebody else, but they did end up accusing the most suspicious person, as it just works out best that way. So from here we have a couple of different things. At night we don't actually use the game theory algorithm for some of our functions, such as the cult leader target. For the cult leader target, we just grab the least suspicious person in the list. For the seer target, we do use the game theory algorithm in order to get not the most suspicious person, but the second most suspicious person. That way we can try and get some more werewolves up on that chopping block. And then we have the kill target. We just kill the most suspicious person in the list if we have a kill target. As for our save target, if we're the bodyguard, we use the game theory algorithm to get the best possible outcome. And when we're voting, if they are less than 40% on the suspicion, we'll save them. Otherwise, we will kill them. And that about sums up my strategy. So now we're going to go into a demonstration. So before we can continue here, we do need to quickly go over a demonstration. In order to do that, I'm going to add in a human player just so I can play around. And I will also need to add one more card to the deck. For simplicity's sake, we're just going to add another villager here. The villagers don't really do too much to affect the game, so it shouldn't really affect our outcomes too much. So with that in mind, we are going to run the game. First thing happens is player 0 is the passive bot here, and then I'm player 1. Oh, lovely. So with that in mind, I don't know where any of the other players are at the moment. We're just going to accuse the passive bot and get him out of the way. Playing passively is not a great thing. So we've got a Moriarty bot already that claimed Seer. We got a random bot that claimed Seer, and another random bot that claimed Seer. That's a bad. So player 2, player 3, player 4 is one of the Moriarty bots and claiming Seer. A random bot is just random, so it does whatever the hell it feels like doing. And then we've got some villager claims and a hunter claim. I am kind of inclined to trust the Moriarty bot at this time. So I'm just going to accuse during the accusation phase one of the random bots. So player 4, 5, 6, 7. So player 7 I'm accusing. Player 7 passive bot is no. This is a different bot got accused, claiming they're a villager. Let's just get rid of the villagers. You never know. Hey, they were a villager. Son of a. Night phase then happens. Looks like I don't have any night abilities, so I'm either a hunter or a villager. That's unfortunate. So random bot here has been killed by a werewolf. So they were a claiming Seer, but they're not Seer. We don't know what their role was. That's unfortunate. So now I'm the next one on the list, I bet. So let's accuse player number. Well, the player list went down, so player number 6 now. I'm still accusing player number 6. We're gonna see what happened. I am up on the chopping block. Let's claim a hunter and see what happens. I died. Oh, that's unfortunate. We were a villager, and I died. Random bots killed by werewolves. Passive bots did nothing. Another random bot claimed their villager. Oh, it went down. Oh, we ended up lynching a tanner. So the tanner ended up winning this game. That's unfortunate. And it was a passive bot of all things. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a quick demonstration of the game. So I won't continue any further for now. Let's get right into the 100,000 run. So as you can see here, we did not beat the aggressive bot. We did beat the passive bot and the random bot. Unfortunately, the aggressive bot is just too good of a strategy to be beaten in normal conventions. I've tried many different things in order to defeat all of them, and I do believe if I had more time, I would be able to come up with a solution that could consistently beat them all. My bot will sometimes beat all three bots, but not always. You'll see that I have the most amount of Tanner wins. I didn't really print out the values for the other ones for this simulation, but I do always consistently have the highest Tanner wins. I will generally have the most cult leader wins, and town and werewolf, I'm usually beating random in both of those, but not always. And when it comes to the aggressive bot, it's just always beating me in werewolf wins, and that's really where it comes down to him. He's beating my bot in terms of werewolf wins, since werewolves are usually the most likely people to win the game. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm sorry this video was so long. Good luck on any of your exams if you have any left. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye, have a great time.